And that's what people don't understand on these podcasts or whatever, these $1 million plumbers, right? Let's not get confused here. Having a $1 million, a $5 million, a $10 million business doesn't make you a millionaire. However, you can cross sell with the company you have now and start dabbling. It comes back to the cross sell. Think about it. In plumbing, you can buy anything you want. You can go to Home Depot, you can go to a supplier, you can go to Ace Hardware, you can get whatever you need, right? Anywhere. No one dominating you. No one is controlling your pricing. You just go find the best pricing. It's available everywhere. And HVAC, you only have a dozen choices. And they're all playing the same game. The game is, I'll give you a better price today, but I'm going to be higher than you're paying now in a year, right? That's that game that's always being played. And then you're having to retool and do all these other things. And your commodity is being controlled by someone other than you.
Well, here's my theory, and it's going to be way less sophisticated than that because it's just my observation over years in the industry. I think that private equity buys things that they can scale, and the way they scale is through acquisition. And I believe that it's the same reason that you see a lot more HVAC guys over the years in all the best practices groups, a lot more HVAC guys, making more money. I think there's just a level of sophistication difference. I think you have more sophisticated operators in the HVAC space, or at least had more sophisticated operators in that space,
Oh, I agree
and they
wholeheartedly.
thought it easier. And then you got plumbing and electrical, which hadn't really had the resources and focus that HVAC had for HVAC probably had a 15-year head start on the others.
Well, it goes back again. The pros, I'm giving you the cons, but the pros of having just a couple of distributors here, they can focus on these companies and help make them better, right? Whereas
Yeah,
in plumbing, it's extremely fragmented, and so
yeah.
there's no continuity. There's no, that bond of doing everything the same. But the world has changed. That's the problem now. It's changed. The people that you're competing against, they're all over the place. We've got the big box, we've got the PE, we got all these, and they're going to figure it out at some time. Right now, they don't have a clue on how to manage this downtime. Right? They're trying to figure it out. They got their spreadsheets out. They're building new ones. They're making them bigger. They're spreading them out further. When at the end of the day, I'm just going and selling shit,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
making money, right? And I don't need a spreadsheet. I haven't looked at a spreadsheet. I don't look at spreadsheets. I don't need to. I have software. I use software instead. I use common sense. I use business sense. I use all the things that I touch and feel, and my people can do the same, right? I give them the freedom to make decisions and to figure things out. You can't do that in an environment. The amount of technicians that we're seeing, plumbing, HVAC, all these technicians that are leaving these companies, either through layoffs, because the layoffs are happening big time here in Dallas. There have been 2 or 3 layoffs, waves of layoffs for each of these big companies here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I don't know how much they're shrinking, 30, 40, 50, 60%, the size that they used to be. And they're laying off folks. And then these people that are becoming available in the market are realizing, I missed actually a business that is, I don't know, I'm going to call it family owned or whatever, but it's intuitive. It's not a spreadsheet run business. It's not where you have to have a magnetic.
Where everybody's not a number or digit on a piece of paper.
I'm an
Yeah,
actual individual again. That's a
yeah,
good point. And not a number, and I don't have to have this badge thing to get into certain areas, and I'm not allowed to unless it's all this stuff that happens when you try to corporatize a blue collar industry. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to corporatize a blue collar industry, and I'm okay with that. I
yeah,
just don't want to do that. You know,
yeah. I mean, I feel like, so I may have shared this with you before. I feel like we live in a gray area, and I want to coin the term, gray collar, because what I feel like we've spent most of our lives, both of us, doing is, taking blue collar folks and blue collar businesses and adding a white collar element to it to make them a little more sophisticated. And now that private equity is entered, we've taken the white collar folks and we try to make them a little bit more blue collar. And so we want to, there's like this perfect space in the middle that I call gray collar,
yeah.
where we take the best of both worlds, a little sophistication, maybe a little spreadsheet and software, but still the boots on the ground and motivation and sales that drive these businesses.
That's
I
right.
think that's where the magic lies, and finding that sweet spot to keep everybody happy on both sides and the business making a lot of money. That's really like that's where it is, but few people can find that sweet spot.
Exactly. So the sweet spot, let me go back in time. So when I got my first business in 1996, okay, I'm dating myself a little bit, 30 years next year. Can you believe that?
Wow.
If I wanted to take my business from blue collar to white collar, all I had to do was give my techs or my plumbers or my AC guys, we can call them techs yet, was a belt. Once I gave them a
Belt and
belt,
booties.
yep, belt
Belt
and
and
booties,
booties.
we went from blue collar to white collar, and that's all it took. I mean, literally, it was that easy.
This is just like, hey, you want to grow your business? Go from get up to a half page yellow page ad.
Yeah, yeah. And if you guys would just shower 3 times a week, we could actually take over this industry.
We can take over the industry.
That's what it was. And
3 times, huh?
yeah.
I don't know. It's yeah. Sometimes it's harder than you think, Tim.
Well, it's like, well, before I thought, before belts, I mean, it's like for years, no one ever did it. So I'm like,
crazy.
why don't we just add a belt and see what
belt,
happens?
so just find a belt sale at Kohl's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's get some jeans on them that haven't been worn for the last 8 years.
They're not standing up on their own there.
Standing up on their own.
Yeah.
That's why they didn't take the bath.
Yeah. I remember it was, I mean, is something that was really, a big deal in the office was making them go outside and smoke.
Yeah.
You would lose
can't
people
smoke
over
inside.
that. I mean, you literally would lose employees over that.
That's crazy.
That's where it's come from, to where we are today.
Yeah, I'm happy about some of the evolutions. Definitely happy about some of the evolutions. But not everybody has evolved. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this industry is that you still see some of that crap happening, and some of you are like, wow, you're really still doing that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Crazy.
Keeping it old school.
That's right. But,
Now, would you say though, Billy, I would, because probably caution for anyone listening. I don't want to give the wrong impression. I don't know that it's the right thing to do to tell everybody just to go out that's in air conditioning right now and then have their $1 million air conditioning business, and they're trying to figure out their margins. And the best thing to do now to fix it is to go on bolt on plumbing and electrical. I want to caution everybody that that's not what we're advising to do,
No,
because
we're not.
there's a methodology to doing that.
That's right. That's the best practices groups went through a phase where they said that was the holy grail. Just go out and add another vertical. And now you see that made a lot of companies fail. You just can't add a vertical and everything works. You got to fix the business you have first. And that's what I coach. I mean, let's fix the business so that it can afford to add a vertical. Because 35% gross profit is terrible. I just, go look at your financials. If you're within 35, if you're not at 50 or above, it's terrible. Okay, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't come close to hitting a margin profile like that, and you're not double digit profitability, you're just going to be compounding your problems when you're trying to add other verticals.
Yeah,
So,
you don't have the wherewithal or the means to do it. The money's just not there.
So is the general thinking with a vertical, if I get a vertical, I can fix the business?
That's maybe the interpretation from what they're
I
hearing
think
from
they're
us
just
today.
like, oh, that's the next step in growth.
This
Like
is
I've gotten it here, and I just need to grow. That's how they think. I think.
Yeah.
Right, this is the disclaimer to what we're talking about, right? You have to have a plan. You just don't add a vertical for no reason.
Yeah.
But if you were starting out fresh, I would definitely start with plumbing, and then I would add HC when it's time, but not until you're profitable and you can afford to do it. That's the thing. You have to be able to fund it because verticals and growth are expensive. Mm-hmm. And that's what people don't understand. And, we see that, on these podcasts or whatever, these $1 million plumbers, right? What do they mean by that? It's easy to say that I have $1 million business, but that doesn't mean you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
right?
Doesn't mean it's a healthy business.
Right. So let's not get confused here. Having $1 million, a $5 million, a $10 million business doesn't make you a millionaire.
Yeah.
So don't claim to be $1 million plumber unless you're you got $1
Yeah.
million laying around,
Yep.
right? There's a
Well,
big
you
difference.
know,
Yeah.
most of these guys choose the vertical they're in because that's the trade specific knowledge that they have,
That's
right? And
exactly
so you
right.
go into business, you have the trade specific knowledge. So before you do any of this, first fix your business. But the first part, even before you fix your business, is educate yourself. You have to become a student of business. You have to understand, proper pricing strategy. You have to understand your financials. You have to understand the KPIs. You have to understand management techniques. You have to have all of these things in place. You don't just bolt on something. You've got a successful, profitable, growing business.
Mm-hmm.
You understand all of the metrics. You understand how to lead these people. You understand how to recruit the right people. You understand what the business should look like before you just, I'm going to add it and see what happens. And a lot of people take an I'm going to add it and see what happens strategy very unsuccessfully.
However, you can cross sell with the company you have now and start dabbling.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Yeah.
back to where we started. It comes back to the cross sell. If you want to start another vertical, just cross sell. Just start talking about, hey, we do HVAC. Maybe you've got a guy that does plumbing and HVAC. I've got plumbers that have gone and gotten their HVAC license, right? Because they're like, why am I cross selling and sending this cross department when I could learn it myself? And so find someone that can do both, or someone that you can afford that, just a person. You don't have to start marketing it. You don't have to spend any money in marketing. You don't have to spend any money in building another warehouse. You don't need to do any of that. You can start another vertical by cross-selling.